What's up guys, I'm going to take you for a quick VFX breakdown of how I created this scene, all the layers I've used and the assets and where I got them from and sort of the whole process of creation of this. So let's check out the video and move on from there. Cool, so there you have it, there's the scene. Now let's jump into the assets first and then we'll go from there. Let's start with the dragon. I purchased the dragon on CG Traders. I got this whole big group of different animals, creatures, really cool place. Not sponsored by any of these places that I'm mentioning, it's just a place where I got some assets and that where you can get them from too. So monsters here, lots of 3D assets right here on CG Traders. I also had some assets from big films like their environments pack. I used the environments, one of the environments from their pack in this project, but they got some awesome assets to create some wicked VFX and some wicked films. And then I also used some video co-pilots products like their action VFX pack. Let's start with the dragon. Downloaded the dragon, it came in a Blender file, already pre-animated. So opened up Blender, opened up the project. Let's just jump into the render section and just check this out. So there it is. It is such a cool asset right here. Rendered that out. It took a long time to render this out, I must admit, but it is a cool asset to have. I then opened up After Effects and brought all my assets in here. As you can see with this image here, this is one of the environments from Big Film's environments pack. I also dropped in some central smoke. Now I'm not sure where I got this asset from. I think maybe Big Films as well. I just turned the opacity up, but I just dropped that in, dropped the opacity and masked it out a little bit so it wasn't going off the screen and had that sharp cut edge. I then dropped in my dragon, which as you can see, this is the original asset that I rendered out. I add a tritone to it to color grade it into the scene. And as you can see, the difference in that is huge. It just automatically looks like it's in the scene. I also wanted to create some highlights as we're going to have fire elements in this scene and fire creates highlights. So what I did was I created these sorts of highlights here, and to do that I duplicated my layer from below which had the tritone. I then added a levels to crush all the blacks and the mid-tones and just keep those highlights. I then added a tint so that the highlights were the color of fire, or that fire that's being given from the fire, and changed that to a screen blending mode just for that highlight area. I also realized that when I did all of this, I lost the color of his eye. So if we just go back to this original one and take off this color, you can see that his eye is orange and sort of bright and glowy. I wanted to bring that back, so once I had color graded it and then added the highlights, I brought his eye back by removing the tritone, adding a levels, and then masking that eye out and tracking that throughout the scene. Once I'd done that, I started adding our fire elements. Here we go, we've got a torch flame section there. I added a couple of different fire elements, one on the other side as well. And then there was our second one, and I also added second fire, the same one, I just duplicated it. I added a levels to crush it all, and then I added a Gaussian blur to glow it out and create that glow. And then I changed that to an add blending mode, just there. What else does a fire need? It needs sparks. So I added some sparks to it to bring that realism in, and obviously I did it to both sides along with the fire and the glow. I then needed to add some highlights to the actual environment because the fire is giving off a glow and emitting light, so we needed to add that in. I created an adjustment layer, I brightened it up. As you can see, let's just jump into here. I brightened up with exposure, added a tint for the color, and masked out the sections I wanted to add highlights to, flickering from the fire. Boom, as you can see there, adds much better, much more realistic. Then to the transparency, I added a wiggle effect, which creates that flicker. I then added these, I don't know what they're called, like the fire metal parts that's in front of the dragon, because at the moment, you just look at it, the dragon's sitting in front of that when clearly the dragon is behind that. So what I did was I bought the original image in, and then I masked out all those sections to bring that in front. And then added some more atmosphere to the scene. Let's turn the transparency up so you can see that. Boom. So that it created some more depth and some more atmosphere and that eerie, scary look. And then I just lowered the opacity so it was subtle and not so in your face. I also wanted to add some light rays. So as you can see, there's like light coming from the top, but I wanted that light rays to come in front of the dragon. Let's jump into that section here. Let's turn this mask off and we'll turn these off. So this is the original image. I tinted it black and white. I crushed it with the levels so that we had all the darks, all the blacks, all the mid-tones all crushed. We just had that highlight section. And then I just masked out that section up there. And if you can see, now we've got all this opacity. I added a black solid, and now that's just one image. I pre-composed it. I then added a radial fast blur. Here we go. I added a radial fast blur, and as you can see, that was too much. So I brought in a levels, crushed it a little bit, and then that made it subtle, and I just lowered the opacity a little bit and changed it to a screen blending mode. As you can see, normal, screen. And then added some more particles just because particles are cool and they make your clip look really cool, especially in an environment like this. So there it is. I lowered the opacity and changed it to a screen blending mode. I then brought all this into its own composition like this. I changed that comp to a 3D layer. I added a camera, which I then turned on the focus distance. So it started out of focus, and then as it came into the scene, it became focused. I paired the camera with a null object, and I created the movement with the null object just pushing in on the scene. So it created some camera movement throughout the scene and some just movement in general. It wouldn't be so static and boring. So there you have it. That's how I created this scene. Quick breakdown. I then took that into Premiere Pro, added all the sound effects and the music and that to really bring it to life. So if you want to see more quick VFX breakdowns like this, or even more complex VFX breakdowns, drop that in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you've got a cool VFX scene that you want us to create, drop it in the comments and we'll try and create it and then take you behind the scenes of how we did that. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.